So it was a day of high drama in Bengal. Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee today took to the streets in what is being seen as a massive show of strength after the Enforcement Directorate raided multiple premises, including the office of I-PAC, a political consultancy firm working with the Trinamool Congress on their election strategy for the upcoming Bengal Assembly elections. In Delhi, her party MPs protested against the ED action. But the ED also hit back, accusing the Chief Minister and the Bengal administration of obstructing government servants from discharging their duty and forcibly walking away with a laptop, mobile phone and documents during ED search operations. The Calcutta High Court was unable to hear the case given the commotion in the courtroom. Our Bengal Bureau brings you our top story tonight.
হামলাকারী পার্টি, অত্যাচারী পার্টি, অনাচারী পার্টি, দুরাহারি পার্টি, দুরাচারী পার্টি। बीजेपी को हम हरा के रखेंगे।
She has put the entire democratic process and governance to shame.
The TMC versus BJP face-off spills onto the streets, from Kolkata to the national capital. Mamata Banerjee leads a protest march in the state capital, directly targeting the ED.
কিন্তু এটা দুর্বলতা নয়। আপনারা মিটিং করলে পেছনে পুলিশ, সামনে পুলিশ, ওদিকে সিআরপিএফ, ওদিকে বিএসএফ, ওদিকে আইএসএফ, কে না আছে?
This a day after she stormed the ED raids at I-PAC linked premises in Kolkata and took papers during the searches. Both sides approached the High Court, but chaos reigned in court. The court deferred the hearing, next date January 14th. ED sources meanwhile have told India Today that tense scenes played out as the Chief Minister reached the raid site. She allegedly took Pratik Jain's phone, while the DGP warned ED officials not to record recoveries in the Panchnama. Targeting arrests, officers claim intimidation, pressure to dilute reports, and harassment of independent witnesses. The BJP goes on the offensive. Alleging unconstitutional conduct and misuse of state police, they have petitioned the Bengal governor.
The entire action of the Chief Minister is not only unethical, irresponsible, unconstitutional, but she has put the entire democratic process and governance to shame.
एक सीनियर पॉलिटिशियन, एक चीफ मिनिस्टर जो संविधान हाथ में रखते हुए ओथ लिया है, उनका इस तरीके से कार्रवाई सीधा संविधान के ऊपर हमला है।
The governor sent a clear message: no one is above the law, no matter how powerful.
There is a dictum which is well known. Howsoever how high you think you are, the law is always above you. We will see that law is enforced in any manner that is required. Now that it is before the High Court, let us wait for the judgment, then I will give my comment.
The Bengal fight also reached Delhi. TMC MPs held protests outside the Home Ministry.
ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी की हिम्मत नहीं कि वह वहां आकर ममता बंदोपाध्याय के विरुद्ध जीत सके। जो भी रेड हुआ है वह रेड उचित नहीं है, अनुचित है। जीतने के लिए वह कुछ भी करने को तैयार है।
You see some names here on this poster. The names are Ajit Pawar. The Prime Minister himself said 70,000 crores is the scam that he's been. Where is he today? Deputy Chief Minister. Where is he today? In Maharashtra, running the government with the BJP. So why is the ED selectively only for the opposition and a washing machine for those that the BJP like?
Tempers flared. MPs were detained and released later, but the confrontation continues.
You're seeing what is happening to MPs. All our MPs have been picked up. Stop, Governor. Governor, no. Don't mention. ये मत करो.
Raids to rallies, courts to crowds. ED versus Didi is no longer just an investigation. It is a centerpiece of Bengal's pre-election battle. And escalation is far from over. With Indrajit Kundu and Amit Bhardwaj, Bureau Report, India Today.
So it's the crucial 2026 battle for Bengal, and joining me virtually from the trenches, live and exclusive on India Today from Cooch Behar, in midst of this poll battle, is Bengal BJP President Samik Bhattacharya. He's traveling from one area to the other. Mr. Bhattacharya, welcome. I hope we have a decent connection. Mamata Banerjee has taken the battle against the ED to the streets. She's called the BJP a Hamlakari, Atyachari, Anachari party, insisting that these attacks will only strengthen her. Sir, has the ED action actually galvanized the TMC leadership and cadre, sir?
West Bengal BJP workers and the entire people of West Bengal, they are very much familiar with this kind of words. It's a frustration of Mamata Banerjee. Mamata Banerjee is not a paratrooper politician. He can smell the political situation, what is going to happen tomorrow. So that is why she uttered this kind of language. What is going on, particularly the ED investigation that is going on by court order. So what she did yesterday, I think that is a shameful day for West Bengal. It's a face loss of West Bengal in front of the country. So this thing will not elevate Mamata Banerjee to any level.
Okay. So, this connection is a little weak since the West Bengal BJP chief is also traveling. Bengal chief minister says whether it's the special intensive revision of the electoral list or the ED action and ED searches, these central agencies and the election commission are virtually working as an arm of the Bharatiya Janata Party, because that's the only way TMC can be checkmated or countered or defeated in Bengal, sir.
She has been repeatedly saying so, but the people of West Bengal and the rest of the country, they know what is happening in West Bengal and what Mamata Banerjee did for the people of West Bengal. Constitution doesn't exist in West Bengal. I think it's a total breakdown of constitutional machinery. When the hearing is on today within the Calcutta High Court, then the Trinamool Congress lawyers cell, they have orchestrated a chaotic situation within the courtroom. And that is why the hearing has been stopped and delayed. So I think it is not only a face loss of West Bengal in front of the country. I think Mamata Banerjee, she has ruined all constitutional ethics of this country.
So that's a very grave charge to level. You say it's a constitutional collapse in Bengal, but Mamata Banerjee says the challenge is actually from the communal forces in the state. And this is a battle that's being fought on multiple fronts, whether it's politically or in courts of law or with ED and EC.
We have been facing infiltration since long. And we have been saying these things in front of the people that the silent demographic invasion is on. So for West Bengal is concerned, the Rohingyas are only welcome guests in West Bengal. Mamata Banerjee encouraging this kind of infiltration, and that is why the demography of entire border district of West Bengal have been changed. Not only West Bengal, the border districts of the demography of Bihar and Jharkhand, Bananchal and Chimanchal, that has already been changed. So I think the internal security of this country is being compromised by Ms. Mamata Banerjee, and the rest of our countrymen, they will think of it.
Okay, but she's looking at this action as an attack on Bengali Asmita, that it is the BJP or the government at the center that's branding Bengalis as Bangladeshis, and they're being targeted almost across the country, sir.
Mom, it is not a question of Bengali Asmita. It is a question of protecting Bangladeshi infiltrators, protecting a consolidated vote bank, consolidated Muslim vote bank. Mamata Banerjee's politics is divisive politics and BJP's politics is decisive politics. That is the basic difference with Trinamool Congress and BJP. Mamata Banerjee is now playing a divisive role. She welcomed the Bangladeshi infiltrators to come to West Bengal, put their names in their voter list. So this illegal immigration is on. It is not only changing the demography of West Bengal, but it is being our national interest is being compromised by this kind of encouragement.
Sir, before I let you go, the timing of the ED action on I-PAC just before elections, because Mamata Banerjee says very crucial details of her election strategy, list of candidates, the way they intended to fight this, all of that was being taken by the BJP through the ED, and that is why she had to personally intervene, or words to that effect, sir.
ED raided a office of a private agency. So far information we have gathered, ED got some link of that particular agency about and certain person involved in the coal scam and Hawala cases. So that is why the raid will take place. That was not Trinamool Congress party office. So why Trinamool Congress uttering this kind of language? It is not our matter. We are fighting with Trinamool Congress politically, and we do believe that the West Bengal people, they have already applied their mind into it. Under any circumstances, they will oust Trinamool Congress from power.
Okay. Mr. Samik Bhattacharya, the West Bengal BJP chief, for joining me here on India First. Many thanks. Let me now throw it open for a wider discussion. Satyendra Singh is former Deputy Director at the Directorate of Enforcement, joins us on the show. Garga Chatterjee joins us as a political analyst, will give us the TMC perspective. RP Singh is BJP's national spokesperson. Also with me is National Bureau Chief Munish Pandey. He covers the Enforcement Directorate and he's been tracking the story very closely. Garga Chatterjee, there is a very, very grave charges against the Bengal Chief Minister. It's a breakdown of constitutional mechanism in Bengal. She's being accused of obstructing government servants from discharging their duty, physically taking control of evidence, which was a laptop or mobile phone. CMO officials are being accused of putting files in the backseat of the car, and the DGP, sir, stands accused of intimidating ED officials.
What we have in this present situation is a crisis of federalism in India due to extreme centralization of power and misuse of such powers. Let me tell you something. Modi has ED to harass, let's say, Mamata Banerjee or MK Stalin or Siddaramaiah or Pinarayi Vijayan. So what does Pinarayi Vijayan have in return to harass Modi? Or what does Mamata Banerjee have to harass Modi? What does Siddaramaiah have to harass Modi just before the elections? Think about it. If in 2014, when this I-PAC guy, who was that? PK, right? He was working with Modi. If Manmohan Singh had sent this CBI or some other central agency to, pre-2014 to, PK's office and gotten the files and hard drives and whatever, what would Modi be saying? Think we people live in a certain reality, and intelligence of people should not be underestimated. In Bangla there is a saying called "Kak kaker mangsho khaye na," which crow does not eat crow's meat. Okay, so today, if we go on for the last 10 years, okay, we have been hearing, okay, this Mamata Banerjee is corrupt, and then Siddaramaiah is corrupt, and then Pinarayi Vijayan is corrupt, and this MK Stalin is corrupt, his ministers are corrupt, Mamata's minister, all fine, okay. So there is a Delhi agency, central agency, which can do this poking. Now, who will basically then go after BJP ruled state ministers or chief ministers or the central government? If the BJP
you made that
is
point.
in power,
Let me get RP Singh to respond.
let me just finish. Give me 30 seconds. The answer is people of India have the choice to change the central government, and they will give the verdict. Why does not this apply for opposition ruled states? What is this? So do we have basically one set of rules? And we are talking about an agency which, by the way, in terms of the normal, they have a 4.6% conviction rate for,
Okay,
for,
I'll get the
you know,
ED expert to respond to that, but you've
PMLA, they
raised
have a
political
less than
points.
1%
I'm going to come back
conviction
to you.
rate.
I'm going to come back
For
to you, but let me get
political
RP Singh
leaders,
to
they have
respond.
a
Why this action and why this
2 out of
action now?
193.
And why is this only one-sided against opposition states is the point that Garga Chatterjee makes, Mr. RP Singh. Please respond, sir.
Well, Gaurav, first let's understand what has happened on ground and what is the problem of the complete issue. I mean, I'm not talking about it's unethical, unconstitutional, undemocratic, it's unlawful. I mean, that's all is there. I mean, that's all is seen and everyone has seen what's happened. But what exactly happened? Why should he rush to I-PAC office? I-PAC office is not a government of West Bengal office, and neither is a TMC office. So, but what files he took from the I-PAC office were of West Bengal government. Now, is I-PAC an extension of West Bengal government, or is it the extension where she hides the files or she keeps the sensitive files which are related to corruption in I-PAC office? You've seen those green files which on your screen, which you are showing, carries a mark, and your channel also covered it yesterday. I was seeing on your channel also, it carried a mark of West Bengal government. So this is a big issue that you are trying to forcibly take the files which are under scrutiny of the ED and you are taking them out and doing unlawful activity. And Mamata Banerjee has been rebuked many times by the court on all such occasions where she has done such activities. Now, what happened in the court today? They didn't allow the court to function. I mean, is it some constitution which is there in the country or not? But you will not allow, I mean, or is it a Gunda Raj now? That we'll decide, we'll do whatever we want to do. And all that scams which has happened under her regime, I still remember in my memory that it was stay till the time I live that 57 crore rupees in that minister's house, and then all those was wrapped in those the papers of the ministry itself.
Fair enough, but let me quickly bring in. Let me quickly bring in Munish.
Gaurav, another second, another 5 seconds, another 3 seconds. Sorry.
Okay.
Let the gentleman answer who's supporting Mamata Banerjee today. What was the West Bengal government files doing in I-PAC office? This is the biggest question today.
Fair enough. And just on a question of fact, Mr. Chatterjee, we as journalists had also covered the Central Bureau of Investigation interrogating then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi, and then, Home Minister of Gujarat, Amit Shah, in different cases. So, what happened to federalism then, or the lack of it, is just a point that you may want to ponder on. But Munish, you've been tracking this case very closely.
Amit Shah was questioned in a murder case.
So,
It's a murder case. What are
and
you
he was
talking
acquitted.
about?
No, all
It
I'm
was a
telling you
murder
is,
case.
it
Come
was,
on,
and
what
he
are
was
you
acquitted.
comparing what with what? It was a
All I'm
murder
telling
case,
you is,
man.
whether it's federalism, you must know it
It
happens
was
in
a murder
on every
case.
side.
Hey,
But
Amit
Munish,
Shah
I want to
was
stay on the
accused in a
current
murder
case. On
case.
the current case.
It's a murder
On the
case.
current case.
You and I,
Okay,
we are all
sir, even if
afraid
you
of
say this
that
30 times,
reason.
it
We
doesn't
know
change
who
the
is our
point.
home
All I'm
minister.
saying is, when there was a different
You
government in
are
the center,
afraid.
it
I am
happened
afraid.
even
Even
then.
this guy is
But I
afraid
want to
who's
bring in
raising his
Munish. Munish,
finger.
what
He's
have your
also
ED
afraid.
sources been telling you? What are your ED sources telling you?
Well, Gaurav, the ED maintains that based on certain input, they decided to conduct searches at several premises, total 10 premises, 6 in Kolkata and 4 in National Capital, in a case which is a money laundering case linked to Anup Majhi, who is a prime accused in the coal case. Now, when the searches were being conducted at 2 premises linked to Prateek Jain, Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister of West Bengal, reached herself. The ED alleges that Prateek Jain's phone was snatched by the Chief Minister. DGP of West Bengal was present at the spot. There were 3 ED officials, dozens of Kolkata police officials, dozens of Z security officials who were providing security to the Chief Minister. And the DGP, according to ED, forced the ED official not to record any evidence in the Panchnama, in the diary notings. The independent witnesses were harassed by the DGP and they were forced to not record any evidence in the Panchnama. And after hours, the ED officials, 3 ED officials against several Kolkata police officials, including the DGP and the Chief Minister, then only they were allowed to leave. So the process of search was not being, the process of search was incomplete as far as ED is concerned, and they have been alleging that it was the DGP and Chief Minister of West Bengal who forced, who intimidated, who threatened the ED officials not to record anything as far as the evidence or
Stay
searches
with
at
me.
the spot.
Mr. Satyendra Singh, as a former officer of the Enforcement Directorate, does this amount to, one, obstructing a government servant from discharging his duty, two, a total breakdown of constitutional norms that you have a state police and a central, agency at loggerheads, and ED's complaint in the Calcutta High Court is about forcible theft and illegal removal of digital devices during the I-PAC searches? How do you assess the potential legal ramifications of this case, sir, especially when the search was under Section 17 of the PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act?
गौरव जी, आपको, मेरे को-पैनलिस्ट और सभी दर्शकों को नमस्कार।
नमस्ते।
अब ये लीगल बैटल बन चुका है, तो और ज्यादा कमेंट मैं नहीं करूंगा इस पे। बाकी तो सब मीडिया देख रही है, सब पब्लिक देख रही है कि क्या हुआ था। अब जहां तक लीगल रेमिफिकेशन की बात है, तो देखिए, क्योंकि इन्होंने डिस्चार्ज ऑफ ड्यूटी जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर थे उनको डिस्टर्ब किया है, इंटरवीन किया है और फोर्सिबली वहां से कुछ पेपर्स रिमूव किए हैं। ये कभी नहीं पता लग पाएगा कि वो पार्टी के पेपर थे जैसा ये लोग क्लेम कर रहे हैं, या वो हिसाब किताब था, हवाला या किसी और चीज का जो कि वहां से रिमूव किया गया। ये तो डिबेटेबल है। लीगल तो अब एक्शन जो है, देखिए, इनकी अरेस्ट बनती है, लेकिन अंडर पीएमएलए नहीं। ये
अरेस्ट बनती
बीएनएस
है।
भारतीय न्यायिक संहिता में मुकदमे दर्ज होंगे इनके ऊपर। और अरेस्ट क्यों नहीं बनेगी सर? मतलब आप ड्यूटी को ऑब्स्ट्रक्ट कर रहे हैं, आप फोर्सिबली डॉक्यूमेंट्स ले गए, वहां से एविडेंसेज है, ठीक है, एजेंसी क्लेम करेगी एविडेंस है, ये लोग कहेंगे एविडेंस नहीं थे। लेकिन ऐसा पहले भी होता रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है। मैंने ईडी सर्विस की, हम पे अटैक भी हुए हैं, गुंडे आए हैं, फाइलें भी छीन ले गए, और लेकिन उनके खिलाफ एक्शन हुआ है। लेकिन ये तो विश्वास नहीं हो रहा जब से कल से मैंने देखा है इसको मीडिया में, कि क्या ऐसा भी हो सकता है? एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अथॉरिटी, साथ में बाकी ऑफिसर जो कि वो भी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ड्यूटी को समझते हैं, जिनकी जिम्मेदारी है लॉ प्रोटेक्ट करने की, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर मेंटेन करने की।
तो मैं एक बार फिर गार्गा चैटर्जी से इसी पर एक प्रश्न पूछना चाहता हूं, बिकॉज गार्गा, former union minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, he said what happened in Bengal has never happened before in independent India. The entire action of Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, in his words, is not just unethical, it's irresponsible, it's unconstitutional, and she's put the entire democratic process to shame. How would you respond to that, sir?
See, here is the thing. We, the people of India, understand certain things. Kolkata police works under the express direction of Mamata Banerjee. It's not some independent police. CBI, ED, these works under direction of Modi and Shah. These are not some independent agencies. If anybody thinks otherwise, they are fools or trying to make fool of us. Okay? So before election, Modi Shah wants to take all this. Every party has party intelligence. Who will be candidates? What are they strategizing? It's like a poker game, right? If I'm playing cards with you and you see my cards, it helps you in your card game, right? So it's like that. They have done this. Now Mamata Banerjee is angry. Naturally, you would be angry if somebody saw your cards. So it's a political play. Now, given this situation, BJP wants to create some situation, constitution broken down, this, that, okay. So they want, because they want a president's rule. Why? Because they have, under other kind of circumstances, BJP time and again, as mandate has shown, West Bengal, people have not voted for BJP. They have voted vehemently against the BJP. What, as a Bengali, what I would want, number one, is that people of West Bengal should elect the government of West Bengal, no other forces, okay? Should be coerced. And number two, also people should remember that Bengalis cannot be threatened into submission by any force in the earth or in the universe. This is very important. And these sort of things before the election, these tips, hawala, this, that, they only understand 3 months before election. They understand all of this. Also,
Very
agency,
pertinent point.
which has an
Okay,
abysmally bad
Mr. Singh, you want to
conviction
respond to
rate.
this?
I mean, what
that,
is this?
You know, the timing of these searches just a couple of months before elections, and the TMC's charge that the ED is being used as a political tool. In fact, TMC is putting out data saying 98% of ED cases are only against opposition leaders. Only 47 of 5,200 odd cases filed in the past 11 years have actually gone to trial, and the conviction rate stands at a 0.7%, sir.
गौरव जी, सबसे पहले मैं जवाब दूंगा कन्विक्शन रेट का।
जी
टिल नवंबर 2025 56 केसेज में ट्रायल कंप्लीट हुआ जहां की वर्डिक्ट आया। आउट ऑफ दो 53 में कन्विक्शन हुआ है, तो कन्विक्शन रेट क्या होगी? आउट ऑफ 56 53 में कन्विक्शन है। बहुत ही सिंपल मैथमेटिक्स है। 94.6% कन्विक्शन रेट है, इंडिया में हाईएस्ट। एनआईए का कन्विक्शन रेट अराउंड 90% है जहां तक मेरी नॉलेज है, और सीबीआई का 72% है। तो कन्विक्शन रेट का मैंने जवाब दे दिया। ट्रायल यदि पेंडिंग है, उस पे ईडी का कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है सर, वो हमारा जुडिशियल सिस्टम है।
नहीं,
और
लेकिन
इवन
केवल चुनाव से पहले आईपैक पर सर्च करना, इसको आप किस तरह से देखते हैं?
आईपैक क्या है? आईपैक एक एजेंसी है, प्रोफेशनल एजेंसी है, जो पैसा लेके बहुत लोगों के लिए काम करती है, पहली चीज। दूसरा, यदि कोई इन्वेस्टिगेशन चल रहा है, उसमें जब प्रोसीड ऑफ क्राइम को फॉलो किया जा रहा है, ये बहुत ही कॉम्प्लिकेटेड सिस्टम है। इतना आसान नहीं है कि लगता है कि इसको दिया, यहाँ कागज मिल गया। क्योंकि जो भी लोग मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के अंदर इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, उनके पास बहुत से प्रोफेशनल्स जो हैं, उनकी एडवाइस होती है, उससे वो काम करते हैं। तो उस ट्रेल को पकड़ना इतना आसान नहीं होता, और दूसरी एजेंसियों से भी इनपुट लिए जाते हैं, उनको डाटा को देखा जाता है। तो यदि ट्रेल
सर,
एक
रहिए मेरे
हवाला
साथ, मुनीश, I'll come to you in just a moment, but now that I have my link,
तक आ रही है,
जी,
तो
now
क्यों नहीं
that
उसका
I've linked back
इन्वेस्टिगेशन
with
होगा?
RP Singh, RP Singh, the apprehension amongst TMC supporters and workers and backers is that this is all a conspiracy by the BJP to ensure that president's rule is imposed in the state and elections are held not with Mamata Banerjee as chief minister. Garga Chatterjee just said that at a time when I just lost your connection. Is that where this is headed, sir?
Gaurav, then they should accept one nation, one election. Then all raid would happen just before the election. I mean, what is the silly argument that is related to the election? Whenever the evidence is there, they will do the needful investigation. But let all point aside, Mr. Garga Chatterjee, please let me know what was that West Bengal government files doing? What were the West Bengal government files doing in I-PAC office? Is that a extension of the West Bengal government? And what was in those files? Was those files related to corruption of West Bengal government? Was that related to corruption of Mamata Banerjee? And
Okay,
then what your
Chatterjee,
party
30
did?
seconds to
Please
respond.
give me a second. What did your party do today in the court? How do you justify that? Are you above the court?
Okay, Mr. Chatterjee.
Yes, sadly, there is only 5% chance that the BJP spokesperson's query will ever be answered, because in only 5% of the cases trial go to the end, as this former ED person said. So we have these inefficient political agencies, both in center and state, playing fool with people. I mean, come on, all this clue, this, that, only before election they remember. I mean, do you think Bengalis are fools?
Can I?
Do all these people think year after year they have lost in Bengal, and they think Bengalis are fools or what?
Okay. RP Singh, you want to quickly respond to that point, whether it's 2021 elections, searches at Abhishek Banerjee in the questioning of his family members, and now again ahead of 2026 elections, CBI then, ED now.
No, what was that 57 crore rupees in that minister's house doing? Was that Mamata Banerjee's money? Was that TMC money? I mean, what was that money? To whom that money belonged to? I mean, come on. I mean, everyone has seen how she has shielded every corrupt practice in the state, how she shielded the ministers from the corrupt ministers in the state. And there are ministers
Munish,
after
since
ministers. You
you're
want to read
constantly
me
in
out?
touch with your
I'll read
ED
out cattle
sources.
smuggling stand.
The
Anubrata
last 30
Mandal.
seconds
She
I
said,
have here.
what is the cluster doing?
The timing of the searches at I-PAC, how does the ED explain that just before elections, and the missing laptop, mobile phone, or documents from the custody, is their case weakened now, whatever the case might have been?
And the timing of the raid searches conducted by the Enforcement Directorate, but remember, when I spoke to ED officials, I specifically asked the question about the timing of these searches. What they are saying is that the searches were not only at two premises linked to Pratik Jain, they were Hawala operators also, and they have evidence of the proceeds of crime, the money trail which has been received by I-PAC. I-PAC is not a, it was not a party branch or any political wing I-PAC has. So they are saying that it was a money trail which was being followed by the ED. That is why several Hawala operators were also raided by the ED. Prateek Jain's office was raided by the ED. And Gaurav, I have seen the documents also. There are transaction details which the ED has at this point of time, which has gone to I-PAC. So they
what
are
kind of transaction details? What can you share with our viewers here on India Today? Or are you still working on that story and we'll have to wait for that another day?
Transaction details of more than 10 crore rupees. Date by date, I have seen those transactions which have been received by I-PAC. The money has traveled from one of the prime accused in the coal scam case, and that money has come to I-PAC. So ED claims it is not a political case. If a party wants to make a political case, they are free to do it, but do not threaten our officials who are discharging their duty. Also, one question the ED has been asking, to the TMC party leaders is that there were raids at 10 premises. Why Mamata Banerjee and the DGP of West Bengal decides to go to only 2 premises? Why not the 8 other premises where the searches were being conducted? And they are also accused of not only shielding the money, but helping, I-PAC in transaction of that money, routing of that money.
Oh, that's a very, very grave charge. We'll track that story very, very closely. I've run out of time on this part of the show because there's a big story coming up on the other side of these very short messages. I want to thank all my guests. Big story coming in on India First, and it's a major development taking place on the high seas. The United States has seized another oil tanker. News just coming in. Washington's growing use of its maritime strength, its maritime power to enforce US sanctions. That this again was a pre-dawn operation. That's the information that's coming in. US Marines and sailors operating under the Joint Task Force Southern Spear. They were launched from on board the USS Gerald R. Ford, the US Navy aircraft carrier battle group, and they've apprehended one oil tanker, Olena. Of course, this was without an incident. This was in coordination with the Department of Homeland Security. We are told that the US is now tightening the screws. It's tightening the enforcement on global energy routes. Questions are being raised about 1, unilateral actions, 2, supply chain risks and the message that is being sent out to energy importing countries. And this is happening at a time when New Delhi has clearly said that energy security and national interests will guide our decisions. I quickly want to bring in my colleague Rohit Sharma joining us live from Washington, D.C. Rohit, what more details do we have? What flag was this tanker? Where was the tanker going? Where was it intercepted?
So this, early this morning, the United States, overnight, I should say, seized another tanker. And this is, again, to try and control the flow of oil to and from Venezuela. The tanker name, the motor, is known as the Olena, and it was seized in the Caribbean Sea. An operation, as you said, was conducted by the Coast Guard and the Joint Task Force of the Southern Spear. And this Olena, again, was a sanctioned vessel, a sanctioned tanker, something the U.S. called as a ghost fleet tanker, suspected of carrying embargoed oil. Interestingly, Olena has also visited 3 Indian ports before it was sanctioned. We're still trying to get to understand if it made those trips to India, but it definitely visited India thrice. It went to Jamnagar, where is Reliance refineries. It went to Kochi, where we got the Indian oil refineries, and another port in India. So this was, again, seized by the U.S. because U.S. believes that this was carrying embargoed oil.
Okay.
They were tracking this. It was sanctioned by the U.S. and the G7 countries. And overnight, early this morning, I should say, the U.S. seized it in the Caribbean Sea.
Keep tracking that story. I will come back to you for more as we await the US Supreme Court decision on Trump tariffs. But it's also D-Day for US President Donald Trump's tariff playbook, because moments from now, the Supreme Court is set to rule on the legality of his actions, and that will have massive international, global consequences. And this comes just a day after President Trump cleared the Russia sanctions bill that could actually slap up to 500% tariffs on countries that continue to buy Russia oil, India included. And this raises the stakes of the India-US trade talks that are still happening or remain in limbo? New Delhi hasn't blinked, clearly not. Even as Washington, D.C. continues to send mixed signals. Remember, Donald Trump had claimed that the Prime Minister is angry with him, and the Prime Minister, then one day he said the Prime Minister called him and said, sir, or words to that effect. India's message has been very consistent. When Howard Lutnick, the US Commerce Secretary, said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was meant to call President Trump and he didn't, well, the MEA called the US characterization of events as inaccurate, stressing that talks have been held and India remains open. India remains in dialogue, but only for a fair and balanced deal. Bottom line, tariff pressure or ego politics, New Delhi will not buckle under pressure.
मेरी सरकार किसानों का कभी भी अहित नहीं होने देगी.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's pledge to protect farmers' interests.
Prime Minister Modi came to see me. Sir, may I see you, please? Yes, I have a very good relationship with him. He's not that happy with me because, you know, they're paying a lot of tariffs now.
President Donald Trump's claims on approach by the Indian Prime Minister. And his own Commerce Secretary fact-checking him. America is passing the buck on trade deal and is now making it about ego. President Trump just a few days back claimed that Prime Minister Modi sought time from him for a meet.
India ordered 68 Apaches, and Prime Minister Modi came to see me. Sir, may I see you, please? Yes, I have a very good relationship with him. He's not that happy with me because, you know, they're paying a lot of tariffs now because they're not doing the oil, but they are. They've now reduced it very substantially, as you know, from Russia.
His own aide has now contradicted Trump's claims. US Commerce Secretary claimed that the trade deal fell through as Prime Minister Modi did not call US President. Amid mixed signals from US, India remains firm. MEA calling the characterization as inaccurate, saying India and US held several talks, came close to a deal.
India and the United States were committed to negotiating a bilateral trade agreement with the US. The characterization of these discussions in the reported remarks is not accurate.
The Narendra Modi government has always maintained a trade deal will happen only when India's interests are served.
मैं आपको बार-बार वादा करता हूं, मोदी के लिए आपके हित सर्वोपरि है. मेरी सरकार लघु उद्यमियों का, किसानों का, पशुपालकों का कभी भी अहित नहीं होने देंगी.
Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, who is leading the trade negotiations with the US, reiterated the stand.
National interests will always be supreme. वो ध्यान में रखते हुए अच्छा अगर डील बनती है तो भारत तो विकसित देशों के साथ डील करने के लिए कभी भी तैयार.
Not just the trade deal, New Delhi also showed the mirror to Trump when he claimed credit for the India-Pakistan ceasefire during Operation Sindoor.
At no stage in any conversation with the United States was there any linkage with trade and what was going on. There was no call between the Prime Minister and President Trump from the 22nd of April when President Trump called up to convey his sympathy.
What the U-turn by Trump administration indicates is that trade may still take time, and New Delhi evidently is not bowing to Washington's demands. With Rohit Sharma and Pranay Upadhyay, Bureau Report, India Today.
Raymond Victory, your assessment of US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's claim that the trade deal didn't go through because Prime Minister of India didn't call. What do you make of the contradictions in what the Commerce Secretary says and what the President said a couple of times that the Prime Minister called and words to that effect?
Well, thanks very much for having me. My take on this is that this is Howard Lutnick trying to emulate his boss, President Trump, as one, a transactional person who comes out on top, that anything that happens that's good was his doing, anything that happens bad was somebody else's fault, and also to try to make good TV out of it. President Trump comes from a reality TV background. He did it for 14 years, and that's his mindset. And Howard Lutnick is sort of a minor league Trump in regard to this approach. The concept that the deal didn't go through because of a phone call is absurd. There have been 8 such phone calls over the past year and plenty of opportunity to talk. But what is true, of course, is that President Trump expects his ego to be salved on this, and that he be praised as the great man who has brought order out of chaos, triumph out of delay, and that he is the one who's in charge.
And Mr. Garg, let me quickly bring in Mr. Garg. India is very clear. We've heard Mr. Piyush Goyal, we've heard External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, we've heard Prime Minister Narendra Modi repeatedly on this. What part of this does the US not understand in your view, sir? What do you make of what's happening with the trade deal?
See, any trade deal happens when both the sides have it to their utmost satisfaction. It's not one-sided deal which happens anytime. So if India has certain kind of no-goes, red lines, certain issues with the trade deal, and those are not agreeable to the United States, or the United States has certain demands which India is not prepared to accept, the deal will not happen. I think it's as simple as that. Why should United States not understand India's position is for the United States to actually express. But as I see it, United States want certain things, especially on the agricultural goods, access for dairy, for corn, soybeans, and other things, which India is not prepared to do. United States want India to stop purchases of Russian oil. It may be an unfair demand, but that's what they want. So if you don't give in to that, if you don't accept that, the deal will not happen. Now,
so are we now to understand then, Mr. Jayant Krishna, and my apologies for coming to all our guests very late with so much breaking news happening, that this trade deal is now either on the back burner or clearly in the cold storage, not happening? Or will things turn around because both countries would need it, and there is no way that US gets access to Indian agriculture or dairy? That's a very sensitive issue in India.
Yeah, so absolutely, Gaurav. India has to protect the interest of our small and marginal farmers and dairy entrepreneurs, right? We can't reduce, the import duty on that to a very ridiculous limit, because it is a question of survival for the poorest of the poor people, the people at the farmers and dairy entrepreneurs at the bottom of the pyramid. So India can't do that. And India, at this stage is very, very clear. It wants the deal, but a bad deal is worse than no deal at all, right? So, and India is diversifying. If the deal comes through with the US, good enough. Otherwise, India has diversified. It has a FTA with UK, with UAE, with Australia, with the European Union around the corner.
Hopefully,
I think, and we have to diversify our trade. That's very, very important. Laying all eggs in the American basket has not worked. And with this kind of a stubborn attitude of the US, it could go either way,
So let me bring in Raymond Vickery once again. The US Supreme Court may give a decision on whether President Trump can legally use the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a law which is only meant for sanctions and asset freezes, to impose tariffs. Now, should the court curb this, as some reports in the US seem to indicate, could it effectively reaffirm that taxation powers cannot be exercised through emergency statutes, or will the president then use the Congress route, or does it come back to 25% after that?
Well, I think what we're likely to get out of the Supreme Court is some sort of mixed decision. I don't think that there's going to be a yes or no on this. you just take the tariffs which are on India, 25% of them are so-called Liberation Day tariffs. That stands on very shaky legal grounds in the United States and is likely to be affected. The 25% on for Russian sanction relies on entirely different legal grounds, and that is much more likely to be upheld as within the powers of the president to conduct international relations. So the delay to me is indicative of the fact that in the United States, our checks and balances, our U.S. constitutional approach is breaking down under the pressure of President Trump.
And that's a story we'll be tracking very closely. Though I've run out of time on this part of the show, gentlemen, I'd love to have you back on the show in the days ahead to discuss this in greater detail. I want to thank you all for joining me here on India Today. But one thing is very clear. All accounts indicate that the Prime Minister and the government very clearly kept India first and Indian interests supreme.